So for me, it's always about how do I attain as much, it's always a challenge for me. How can I attain as much knowledge as I can? Because I love learning. Like I love learning, but then how do I take that and be able to now reciprocate it or give it to somebody who may not understand calculus or trigonometry, but if I can give it to them in this way, they can say, oh yeah, I got it. And there's more people that struggled in the world that has become successful. So struggle has to become a language that I struggle. So that's the language I'm great at. So if I can break down things into a struggle language, now I make it the game winnable for everybody. And that's the goal, to make the game winnable for everybody who's bold enough to step into the batting cage. If you bold enough to do that, I was bold enough to jump in a goddamn 152-foot tank with sharks in Dubai. If you're bold enough to do it, there's an experience that comes from that. And that experience is so exhilarating, it will take you to the next level. Because now you keep chasing the next level of you. And that is when you start understanding life at a whole nother concept, when you start understanding that, yo, for the longest, I was just low-level living. I was low-level thinking. Now that I've been exposed to something, and I say this often, whatever you haven't been exposed to isn't your fault. Once you get exposed to it, you now are accountable for it. And so once I've become exposed to so much knowledge and information, once I expose you to it, you're accountable, because now you can no longer say, I didn't know. So the important thing for me to tell them is start where you are. You build a house brick by brick. I mean, of course, you can get a house put together all at once. We live in that world. I get the idea. Right? But you build a mansion, you build an empire, you build it brick by brick. Like you start with $25. And we have to understand, think, RIP to Nip, man. The great, he says something that's phenomenal. He said, we on a marathon. We didn't get into our situation overnight. Right? We look back at our situation, you see you inherited that, whatever it is, that poverty. You inherited that mindset, that idea of scarcity, that idea that you don't have enough money. You inherited that. Building wealth becomes a revolutionary act. Because now you start saying, I'm going to go against what I was taught. Right? And so I say, by starting with $25, if you can do $25 a month, that's cool. If you can do $25 a week, that's cool. But what happens is, once you start understanding the power of how your money works, you'll start saying, yo, I don't need to do that, because that's taken away from this. That 25 will now become $50. Guaranteed. That 50 will now become 100, because you're going to start doing more with less. The person who works out and sees that they drop 10 pounds in 2 weeks says, you know what, I'm going to go a little harder, because I know if I can drop 10, I can drop 20. Right? I know if I see one muscle shape up, I know it's possible. The word possible is so powerful. Possible changes the game. Instead of it being impossible, we now say, I am possible, or I'm possible. That changes the dynamic. So the first mindset is saying, invest in your first stock. It don't have to be a winner. It doesn't have to be a home run. It can be an AT&T stock that costs $26 right now. It may not be the best investment in the world, but you started. Right? And the great thing about anything is, you can't be great if you never go to practice. You can't hit 81 if you never get in the gym. Yeah. So just get in the gym and then find somebody who can teach you. Be dedicated to understand the process. Warren Buffett said he reads 500 pages a day. God, that lets me know I got a whole lot more reading to do. Man. I'm an audible book junkie right now, because if he's the greatest investor, and if he's reading 500 pages a day, I don't know how he does it. But in my mind, if he's still learning, I got a whole lot of learning to do. If somebody like Monesh Bride and Guy Spivey can pay Warren Buffett $1 million to have lunch with him, and these are already great investors who I look up to, if they can pay him $1 million to go have lunch with him, that means they're trying to learn. Their learning has to go to the next level. So if learning is the catalyst to everybody who's wealthy and successful, I can never be sufficient with what I know. And I think that has to happen too. We have to understand the power in learning and being educated, man. I realized how powerful it was for me to, one, become economically powerful in my mind. Because the thing about investing, especially in stocks, is that piece of ownership of everything that I use now makes me say, well, if I own that Apple, God, I don't care about buying an Apple phone. Right. If I'm gonna wear Levi's and I'm gonna wear Timberlands, if I can own VFC Corp, then I own the stuff that I'm buying. I'm okay with that. Like that subtle shift in my mindset changed everything for me, because now I was after just owning everything that I consumed. In the beginning, that was my introduction to the game. Let me just own everything I consume and then I'll feel okay. And then one dope thing happened to me. In 2010, this after I'm home from prison now, right? I'm home from prison. I'm back in the streets hustling, because even though I have the information, I don't have the money, right? And I'm like, well, shit, I gotta get the money. My door gets kicked in 2010. They get 8 pounds of weed, $10,000. Yeah, by the cops. 8 pounds of weed, $10,000, a 223, a 40 with extended clip and a beam, and 100 X pills. So the cop tells me, you ain't learned your lesson. Like, you ain't learned your lesson. And I was like, damn, that was some dumb shit. Right? Like, I got knowledge, I got information, but I still fell victim to the same shit that everybody around me knew. So therefore, the knowledge that I had wasn't powerful because it wasn't applied. So I was fortunate, God bless me. I wound up getting found out guilty because it's called fruit of a poisonous tree. So they kicked in my door, but they didn't have probable cause because they stopped me in my truck, didn't find nothing on me. So they went to my house, kicked the door in with no search warrant. So now everything you find is null and void. That's purpose, man, because that's not supposed to happen, right? I'm thankful for that all the time. And then, but that put me in a situation, because now, even though it cost me $60,000 to beat that charge, I don't have no money. So now I get into the robbing game. So now I start robbing dope dealers, right? Because an OG told me that a person who works a job every day, they not a part of this game. So they not fair game. You don't mess with them. But somebody who sells a nickel bag, you fair game. A shark don't care if it's a tuna or whatever. If you in the ocean swimming, you fair game. And so I started robbing dope dealers at the time, because I was like, yo, if you want, you can't call the police. If you want to see me, I'm with it. And I got in a situation where I was good at it. Me and my partner, God bless his soul. And then one day I almost got killed. And I go to my partner and I say, bro, I'm out. Like, that's a done deal. But when they kicked my door in, something happened. So they took my truck, they took my money, but they didn't mess with my stock account. It didn't freeze, it didn't. I said, hold up. They don't think I'm smart enough for this. In the book, 48 Laws of Power, it says, never underestimate your opponent. And at that point, I realized that America underestimates us. And it's from a class issue, because we've never said we're capable of doing this. It's a game we just didn't play. So I said, okay, God, what do you want me to do? All I know how to do is be a hustler. And the voice from 1999 comes in my head and says, you're just playing the wrong game. Like, all right, cool. So I went to tell my homies, like, yo, check this out. Instead of us just blowing the money, we gonna wear the Fendi anyway. We gonna wear it anyway. Let's just own that shit too. Like, let's play the game both ways. So my homies really wasn't getting it. So I had to say, all right, yo, like, the education, the knowledge is the fertilizer to your wealth, right? So as the education and as the knowledge changes, so does the compensation change. Because now I can have conversations about different things. So I really just locked in on it. And I started teaching my homies, and I was like, all right, how do I make it realistic to them? How do I make them tap into it? So the second thing was like, yo, check this out. None of us can beat the game. Everybody I knew had the same problem. Nobody had the solution. How do I now stop looking like the problem and start representing a solution, right? So I can't talk to everybody, but I can talk to street dudes. Like, I can talk to them. So I'm like, yo, check this out. If you go do a bid, which is gonna happen, what do you come home to? Like, you gotta get back in the streets. You gotta get it out the mud again. So if you had money invested for you, when you come home, you got money. You don't gotta ask nobody for no handout. What if you go do a bid and what you've made the sacrifices, you've took the chances, what do your family have? Like, so let's start thinking bigger picture now. What happens if you get killed in the street? Because most of us either go to jail or we get killed. What do you leave your kids? Like, let's start making it make sense. So the goal for me was to never tell you get out the streets. It was to start saying, yo, let's start thinking about our family now. Like, let's start thinking about something bigger than us. And nobody never came to us like that. So that was my whole avenue. And so the Wall Street Trapper was me just saying, let me turn the trapper word
into something positive
Mhm.
instead of always being about dope, instead of always being about hustling. And I knew my voice for who I was talking to. I never wanted to talk to nobody else.